Hey everybody. Closed. So this is my first time going live. I am Mike Roberts, the owner of Herb Meds, and I wanted to come on here and thank you guys for all your support and just show my appreciation to you guys for supporting me and my small business. Um, I feel honored to, supply you guys with high quality herbal remedies, teas, honeys, salves, all the things that I make myself. I make everything myself, and it's been a struggle. I started this company about 2 years ago on Etsy, and from there, it grew slowly on Etsy, and then I decided to get my own website, which I didn't keep because it was hard to do to drive you know customers to the website and keep track of everything. So I went ahead and kept on with the Etsy for about a year, and then it started to take off. I got some good reviews, developed some really good products, um, developed a spice line, really really good tea line, and just started to do more research and just slowly it built up. And then I joined foraged.com and I set up a store on there, which was a lot of work too because you have to add everything to their store as well. But then now I'm setting up the TikTok store, which I hope you guys will check out. Um, it's not finished yet. Some of the pricing may still be off a little bit, but it uh, it will be set up by the end of this week. I'm doing everything myself, so it's pretty daunting sometimes. But I appreciate you guys so much for all your support, and I encourage you to go check out my Etsy store, Herb Meds at Etsy, and some of the delicious tea line that I've developed. Um, has been doing pretty good lately. Like I was saying, I started this store about 2 years ago on Etsy, and it grew slowly, and I stuck with it and started. I kept developing products and salves and different types of spices, different types of teas, and advertising. I'm doing all this myself, so it's kind of daunting. But I set up the shop on Forage.com, which gave me another source of revenue as well. But that was kind of daunting as well because you have to add everything again to it, and they wanted a ridiculous amount of money to list stuff on there, and I fought with them about that for a while. But I appreciate you guys joining, and I got the new apple cinnamon honeybush tea, which is excellent. Um, it's for sale right now in my shop. That's Herb Meds at Etsy, and I developed that one for the holidays, and then I also have the banana bread chai tea, and then there's a citrus yerba mate green tea as well, which is pretty good. So all these teas I make myself, and I dehydrate the fruits and mix them by hand, and then package them up. But I have a peach soursop sencha tea, which is really good for the holidays. If you guys are interested in that, the soursop is really good. It's one of the most medicinal plants that I have, other than moringa. And I grow the soursop myself. I have 4 trees, and then I have 4 moringa trees as well that I use. the leaves off of for my products. So everything I grow, I try to grow as much of it myself as I can, but some of it I do outsource. The summer berry hibiscus tea, I believe I had bought some freeze dried blueberries for that from a different source, but it came out really delicious. And I test all these products myself. So my family's become my guinea pigs, and I have really good reviews, so I try to maintain the quality of these products, and I try to make products that I would use myself. And most of these products I do use myself. So I did make one tea for a customer. It's called a Vitex tea blend. It's a women's tea. It's for like perimenopausal symptoms. It helps control cramps and on different symptoms you would experience during this time in adult woman life. And I had to do a lot of research about that too. But some of the other things that I've been developing recently uh, was the parasite cleanse, which I used. I gathered, foraged some black walnuts, and I got some wormwood and some clove, and I steeped all those in some glycerin for about 2 months. And the black walnut and the wormwood will kill the parasites in your body, and the cloves will kill the eggs. So you usually want to take that twice a day for about 2 weeks, and you'll feel a lot better. I actually took a round of that recently, the last 2 weeks, and my digestion improved. I didn't see any parasites um, for myself, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. Some of them are really small pinworms and things like that are tiny. You can't see those, but it's good to do a parasite cleanse every year, I would say, and to have high quality products to do it with that where they came from somebody who tested them and developed them for their family, and that's what I try to do. And another one that I developed that actually really worked for me was the comfrey salve. And comfrey is they use the root of the plant, and it helps with pain, muscle pain. I have arthritis in my hand. I broke my hand several years ago, and I have a metal plate in there, and it bothers me when it gets cold like it is now. And I use that comfrey on that, and it immediately stops the pain. It also helps with wound healing, and I use it for my back. And I also sell magnesium oil, which I use for my muscles, sore muscles. If you work out or anything like that, you can spray that on. And I like the spray because your body will absorb what it needs from the spray, as in contrast with if you take a pill, you you may take too much. Not saying that would harm you, but it's better just to let your body take what it needs, and you can do that with the spray. I have several different salves available. I have a dandelion flower salve, and there's a balm of Gilead salve that I have, which came out really good. It smells really good too, and that's made with cottonwood buds from a cottonwood tree, and it also has self heal. So the self heal I harvested from my yard. I have a video of that on my TikTok, and it shows you how to identify it and what the uses are, and you guys can check that out and maybe find some for yourself. I always encourage people to forage for themselves. Do your research um, before you go eating anything that you're not sure about what it is, because some of these plants are poisonous and you need to know what you're doing. But there's a lot of research online. Me personally, I learned from several people who had been doing this for years, and I did a lot of research. I have many books and just experience doing it. And Yarrow is another one that's in the balm of Gilead, which I use. That's for rashes and eczema and psoriasis. It really works well. And Yarrow, interesting fact about that is, they actually used to use this in the wars, early wars, to stop bleeding. It has properties that will stop bleeding almost immediately. So if you're out in the woods and you know how to identify yarrow and you get hurt, then you can find it and chew it up, put it on your arm or wherever you're injured, and it'll stop the bleeding. Could save your life, which is a really good thing to know. I encourage people to try to find plants that are in your area and learn how to identify them, learn their uses. That way, if something ever happens, you can use them on the spot. There's a lot of different plants around here. I'm in Texas, and I foraged around all over Texas to find different things. Beauty berries. I found boneset, mushrooms as well. I found reishi, and I have a product that I just developed, actually finished developing last week, which is a nootropic mushroom glycerin, which has reishi, lion's mane, and turkey tail mushrooms. And they're always talking about the nootropic gummies, and the lion's mane helps you with focus, and the reishi is really good for mental acuity. And I mixed these together. I made these separately because you have to do a dual extraction on these. You have to use water and either glycerin or alcohol. I use glycerin because I just prefer it over alcohol. I don't have alcohol in my house. I'm in recovery. So I'm 5 years sober. And that's just, the only downside to using glycerin is it doesn't last as long. Last 2 years, as in contrast with a tincture, which is made with vodka or Everclear, will last indefinitely. But if you haven't used a tincture or a glycerin in 2 years, chances are you're probably not gonna use it. So I stick with the glycerins. I prefer them. They're a little sweeter. I made a vanilla glycerin with actual vanilla beans, and I let that steep for over a year, and it came out absolutely delicious. It's also in the shop. So last week I was helping one of my buddies cut grass at his yard, and the neighbor had a ton of reishi mushroom on their tree, and I was like, man, I need to get some of that. So I went and asked him, and I was able to harvest some of that stuff. So I got some fresh reishi mushroom from the tree, and that's going to be going in the next batch of nootropic mushroom blend. These things take months to make, so you have to plan ahead as far as, like, when I start to run out of a product, I try to keep track of my inventory and make it ahead of time. You have to. There's no other way. And one of the best sellers I had too was the Beauty Berry bug spray that I made. I made witch hazel. I got some witch hazel bark, and I mixed it with alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and extracted the phytochemicals from it. And then I added some, I think I put, let me see what I put in there. I think I put lavender in it, and maybe a few other herbs to help with the skin. And I used that and the beautyberry leaves to make bug spray, and I use neem oil as well, and it really works. We have mosquitoes here, awful mosquitoes. They're vicious, and I've had several people comment on how well it works, and I use it when I go fishing. I don't like putting that DEET on my skin, the off. It's not really good for you, and plus it's just, I don't want to have to put that on every time and then take a shower. So I just spray on some of this beautyberry bug spray. I do have some of it left in the shop, and then I'm good to go. So that's one of the things that I foraged around here. And then we have a couple of dams in our area. Uh, there's a state park that has a bridge going over where the overflow from the dam goes out, and there's a bunch of American white lotus out there. And when they drained I think they stopped the dam up, and all the water drained out of there, and I was able to walk out and gather some of these white lotus and the seeds. And then I made a triple lotus glycerate with white lotus, yellow lotus, and blue lotus for the skin. And I also made blue lotus um, oil, which is really good for your skin too. And you know, another thing too, cold season's coming up. Everybody's talking about their elderberry syrup. Elderberry syrup is a staple for me around here. Elderberries do grow around here. I have harvested them around here, and they're kind of a pain in the butt. I usually stick them in the freezer, and then when they freeze, I just knock them all off. It's a lot easier to take them off the stems that way. Um, Elderberries are mildly toxic, but if you dehydrate them, it gets rid of the toxicity. So when you're making anything with elderberry, just keep that in mind. You can eat a few of them, but you want to cook them some way, and dehydration is a form of cooking. So um, definitely keep that in mind if you ever harvest and use elderberry. I just I make it tonic because elderberry syrup needs to be refrigerated. It's harder for me to store it and sell it that way. So I make homemade apple scrap vinegar, and I make an elderberry tonic, which is with the vinegar. I add the vinegar to the elderberry syrup, and it is shelf stable. So I use local honey and cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon is the best for that, and it helps your immune system. And cold season's coming up. I got elderberry syrup in the shop, and I also have fire cider that I just finished last week that had been extracting for a month. Excuse me. And it came out. I don't know if anybody's ever drank fire cider, but it's not good. It never is good, but it's extremely good for you. So the way I drink it is I just take a shot and then chase it with something because it doesn't taste good. I haven't made any fire cider that ever that's tasted good. So this time I used the apple scrap vinegar that I made, and local honey, horseradish. It's not a fire cider if it doesn't have horseradish. And then jalapenos, onions, ginger, turmeric, black pepper, elderberry, star anise, Ceylon cinnamon, and then I used some lemon balm that I had been growing in my garden. I added that into the fire cider this time, and it came out. It came out pretty good. And then interesting, this time I tried. I took the scraps from the fire cider that I made, and I dehydrated those, and then I ground them up into a spice. I added salt to it, and that's also in the shop. Um, I've never tried it before, and it was really good, surprisingly. When you're making the fire cider, it stinks, and you just don't think that anything like that would be really good. But it did. It came out pretty good, and the spice came out really good too, which I was surprised about. So interesting. But I tried to grow a few things, a few more things in my garden this year, and we had a huge flood here, and it just demolished my whole garden earlier this year. So it was kind of hard. I tried to plant a few things after that, and it didn't work. I had some things in pots that I used, like the moringa trees I have in pots, and I have soursop tree. I have 4 soursop trees, and then I have some roselle hibiscus that I've been growing. It's the first year that I've grown those and harvested those. They die off every year, so you'll have to replant them, but they're totally worth it. They make a tart, tangy tea, which is really high in vitamin C and antioxidants, and it also makes a really good jelly. So if you ever get the chance to grow any of that, I don't know what grow zone you're in, but I highly recommend trying to grow that. I always encourage people to grow things for themselves, and if you don't have a green thumb, you can always try. That's what I did. I was thinking about getting a greenhouse too, but we're not there yet. So let's talk about some of the other balms I made. I made a homemade tiger balm, which was the first time I made tiger balm. Um, but I had some advice from some other people who had made it before, some herbalists in the area, and I steeped the jojoba oil, the peppers in the oil for about a month, and then I strained them out. They were dried peppers because you can't mix oil and water. So if you're making like a tincture, you can use fresh herbs or fresh plant material in those types of things. But if you're making an oil, it has to be dried because it will spoil if you get any water in it. So I used dried peppers and made the oil for the tiger balm, and then I used menthol, camphor, clove, eucalyptus, peppermint, frankincense, cajeput, and arrowroot powder. Arrowroot powder, it just helps it be less greasy. So another thing that grows around here, and I think it grows pretty much everywhere in the United States and around the world. It's a lichen, lichen. I guess some people say it's called usnea, and I have a video how to identify it, and it is basically doxycycline. It's an antibiotic, and you can make a tincture out of it and have homemade antibiotics year round for free. And it grows on trees. It's very um, easy to find. I usually try to find it on the tree branches that have fallen because it does grow slow, and I don't like to pick it from that. But I mean, if you have a windstorm, chances are you're going to find some of it. You may have already seen it and not known. But I always try to keep a supply of that on hand just in case I need it for an emergency and I don't have antibiotics. So doxycycline is used for like low grade infections, fevers, sinus infections, sore throat, strep throat, things of that nature. And I thank you guys for joining. This is my first time going live. I was having a lot of problems with my camera on my phone, so I'm using my laptop right now. I'm gonna check out the merch. Got the Herb Meds merch. But I'm gonna head off here. I appreciate you guys joining the live. Thank you so much. I hope you check out my store. It's Herb Meds at Etsy. Have a good day.